Good morning, students. Dear, dear students, today we are going to discuss the Unit 4, and the topic is concept and or meaning and objectives of population education. When we are talking about the population education, that means we are aware that there is intricate relationship between population and development, both at micro and macro levels. Every individual, family, community, and nation desires to achieve better standard of living. But an undisputed fact is that any increase or decrease in population will have its relative impact on development in the given context, family, community, nation, and the world. The concept of development is very comprehensive, and understanding of the relationship between population and development becomes highly complex given the qualitative and quantitative variable of development. Decision of individuals, families, communities, and the nations regarding population matters will have their implication for development at mi- micro and macro levels and overall quality of the life of people. At the nation level, decisions related to population change, increasing or decreasing it, are a matter of population policy, which may be pro nationalist or anti nationalist. However, the emphasis in these policies and programs vary from nation to nation based on the political, social, and cultural, environmental, and other aspects. And population education in many countries has emerged in response to population problems and issues, and in particular as part of their policies. It is an indirect means to attain national demographic goals by influencing the people's knowledge, attitudes, and practices or behavior towards such problems and issues. Concepts and features of population education. Population problem is a man-made problem, and hence solution to it also lies in human mind and action only. The solution becomes sound and possible by educating the people about population issues and problems. So, population education, in simplest terms, is the education on or related to population matters. But the term population matters is very wide and includes many things, and delimiting these matters is not an easy task. It refers to the conceptual understanding of both population and education and encompasses all that is related to population matters, situations, issues, problem, etc. Population, in general, refers to the total number of people inhabiting in a specified geographical area, be it a village, taluka, district, country, or the world as a whole, or belonging to any particular race, religion, sex, class, caste, group, community, and so on. Whereas education is the process that imparts, improves, or changes the knowledge, information, understanding, attitudes, skills, abilities, practices, and so on, the people for their effective performance in life as an individual and as a member of the family, society, nation, and the world. Having considered the two terms, population and education, as ever, deciding on what sort of education can be imparted to which section of population, on what population matters, and to what extent poses a serious challenge to population educators and educationists. Broadly speaking, the population matters include the size, structures, distribution, density, growth, etc. of population. The trends in population change at different levels: local, state, national, and global, as well as factors that determine or influence these changes. The consequence of population change on different aspects of human life: social, religious, economic, political, cultural, etc., and also on environment and ecological balance. The human reproductive systems, the process of conceptions, the progress of pregnancy and delivery, reproductive health and rights, etc., and various measures of population control as for individual, different temporary and permanent methods and techniques of family planning. Second, national population policy programs. And third one is international agencies engaged in providing different types of support, such as financial, material, and human to various population control efforts in different countries. In fact, it clearly covers any or all matters related to population that influence development, standard of living, and quality of life. Thus, population matters are comprehensive and all embracing and together from the content of population education that enables people or the target groups to take rational and responsible decision in respect of these matters. According to Club of Rome 1968 to 1972, the huge population growth of the poor and underdeveloped countries of the world is the main cause of all kinds of environmental population pollution and destruction of natural resources. The Club of Rome mainly identify countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America as vulnerable to these scores and advise them to control their population. According to Club, the huge population of poor countries is dangerous for civilization, but hopefully most economists, demographers, and environmentalists do not support this theory of rich countries. According to them, the daily needs of poor people are very insignificant, but the resource value of the manual labor they expend in the production of pollution free products is infinite. If the education of the backward people can be made possibly by improving the health and quality of life, environmental protection, and good use of resources, the population will also be naturally controlled. There is definitely a need for regulation, legislation, etc. But the best approach is to improve the standard of living. The essence of public education is the creation of mental models and values with the help of population growth issue that will give birth to a new outlook on one's own life. Childbearing and rearing, thereby eliminating the need for any separate efforts to control population. Population education should be considered based on this positive concept. Now, nature of Nature and meaning of population education. Population matters are not constant and keep changing. Accordingly, the concept of population education has gradually evolved by adapting itself to the changing needs, requirements, and emerging issues and concerns, while promoting of the observance of the small family norm has been the basic concern of population education. Its approach has been to present to the students the multifaceted aspects of population situation at micro and macro levels with clear-cut emphasis on cause and effect relationship between different aspects and factors of population. Conceptualization of population education is, of course, a question of emphasis rooted in complex socio-cultural and historical differences. Since the population situation is not expected to remain static, the concept of population education also cannot be expected to remain unchanged. Although some countries do not openly accept any kind of sex education or family planning education in schools, they do realize the need for including some content related to these areas in the population education curriculum. A number of surveys conducted in some countries in Asia vouch to this change in the perception of people and their acceptance to include sex education related contents in the framework of population education. In many countries of Asia and the Pacific region, there is cultural and religious resistance to including any kind of family planning or sex education component in school curricula. Sex education is still considered untouchable in many countries in Asia, although some countries such as Republic of Korea and the Philippines have included family planning and sexuality as a part of population education curriculum in schools. In Fiji, sex education is a major component of family life education. It should, however, be noted that in Latin America and to a lesser degree in Francophone Africa, sex education may be the most accepted term for what has been called population education in Asia. Population change and development are interdependent. Population change at any level, family, community, or nation, is the result of the decision based on certain considerations, which they consider rational in the given situation or context. Whether the decisions are rational or not depends upon their understanding of all the relevant matters at the level. This is what precisely means population education, knowledge, understanding, attitude, and practices or behaviors of people in respect of their population situation, which is intended to lead to such population change that influence their quality of life, among others, at present and in the future as well. It thus has bearing on population matters at micro and macro levels, both at present and in the future. Population education, therefore, means and includes all educational efforts aimed at presenting to people the population situation, its determinants, consequences, and controlling measures in scientific manner with a view to developing among them the rational and responsible decision-making ability to respect a population, regulation for better quality of life at present and in future for themselves and for their offsprings. The word Population education contains two words, population and education. By population, we mean the number of people living at a given time and in a given territory, and the process and method of raising awareness of social, economic, political, health, educational, human relations, values, etc. is population education. Simply put, population education is the collection of all knowledge related to the nature, growth, and control of population. Through population education, the student groups, on one hand, the nature and significance of population, and on the other hand, its own and surrounding environment and the various forces of the world, can understand the relationship of population. And based on this, you can develop special values about life. From this definition derives all theoretical contribution to population education. The real purpose of population education is to inculcate a permanent and special value about the quality of life. Developing these values requires understanding the interrelationship of many elements. To understand the nature and significance of population in relation to each other, many consider population education to be synonymous with sex education or family planning education. But in reality, population education helps us to explore and discover the interaction relationship between population and education. Population education is that part of the whole education system which makes us aware of the process and consequences of population growth and accordingly motivate us to take action for the betterment of the society and environment. Population education is, therefore, by nature an important endeavor within the overall educational effort. This effort makes mankind try to control the population in order to preserve its existence, makes everyone aware of healthy and normal living. Different organizations and researchers have conceptualized demographic education from different perspectives. They are what doctors consider population education to be an effort to limit family size. In order to keep the family size small, people's attitudes needs to be changed and birth control should be done. For this purpose, population education is to increase the awareness among the common people in the transmission of various medicinal information, useful materials. In the opinion of economists and sociologists, population education is deeply related to the country's development, financial growth, self-reliance, productivity, etc. The progress of the individual as well as the society depends on the strategy of the population control and population development. The NCERT draft curriculum states that students at all levels will have the right to know what changes occur as a result of changing family patterns and controlling national pattern population. This knowledge will be helpful in the way of family control, economic development, and welfare of the people. Now, definition of people population education. Population education, being innovative program of education, needs to be clearly understood. Given the cultural diversities and different target groups to be educated on population matters, it may be difficult to give one definition of population education which can be universally accepted. Further, definition may be directive or non-directive. Also, the definition based on directive approach differ in their specific behavioral outcomes, such as promotion of acceptance of small family norm, contraceptives, etc. For instance, The assertion that a small family is a happy family is not universally true, for there are many instances of bigger families being happy families. The pursuit of such an objective may have psychological implications for children who come from large families. While the directive definition of population education may be controversial, non-directive definitions will be non-controversial. In India, the first crucial attempts at defining population education and developing its conceptual framework with a scheme of contents were made in the National Seminar on Population Education held by Bombay in 1969. It was regarded as a motivational force for creating rights attitudes to family size and the need for family planning methods. In the same seminar, according to Chandrasekhar 1969, regarded population education as the statistics, economics, and sociology of the growth of population, its distribution and relation to the standard of living, and its ultimate economic and social consequences. UNESCO made an attempt to define population education in internationally acceptable manner. Population education is an educational program which provides for a study of the population situations in the family, community, nation, and the world, with the purpose of developing in the students rational and responsible attitude and behavior towards the situation. From this definition, one can understand two important attributes of population education. Firstly, it is an educational program that provides for a study of population situation at different levels. Secondly, it is intended to develop rational and responsible attitude and behaviors towards the situation. The words rational and responsible are quite relative, and the basis or criteria to establish a decision on population matter as rational and responsible vary widely depending upon the context at a given level. Thus, the term population situation is not amenable for any precise definition. This is so because what is rational and responsible to one, be it individual, society, or nation, may be absolutely irrational and responsible to others. However, reflecting on all such details in any definition will be extremely difficult task, as there cannot be any hard and fast rule in this regard. Nevertheless, the above definition of population education is accepted by the majority of the countries in the world. However, individual experts do differ and offer their own definition. According to Maciel's 1972 defined population education as the teaching and learning of reliable knowledge about the ways of inquiring into the nature of human population and the natural and human consequences of population change. This definition stresses the reliable knowledge of ways of inquiring, thus intends to promote skills and abilities of the target group related to researching into population matters to enable them to learn on their own about these matters. Lane and Wildman defined population education as the study of human population and how it affects and is affected by several aspects of life: physical, social, cultural, political, economic, and ecological. This definition attempts to include the study of the repercussions of population change on several aspects of life and vice versa. According to Weatherman 1974 defines population education as an educational process which assists person to learn the probable cause and consequences of population phenomena for themselves and for their communities, to define for themselves and for their communities the nature of the problems associated with population processes and characteristics, and to assess the possible effective means by which society as a whole and the person as an individual can respond to and influence the processes in order to enhance the quality of life now and in the future. Thus, the conceptions and definitions are, on the whole, shrouded with epistemological difficulties. Several persons and institutions have conceived and defined population education in different ways depending upon their knowledge on perceptions and points of view. Some define it in terms of its aims and objectives or in terms of the behavioral outcomes expected of population education, while some others define it by giving a list of its contents. They conceived it as synonymous to family planning or birth control or contraceptive education or family life education or population studies or demography. While some definitions are directive aimed at achieving the acceptance of a small family law, some others are non-directive aimed at the development of rational and responsible attitudes and behavior towards family size and other population matters. We can thus notice that the emphasis in different definitions is on bringing changes in the knowledge, understanding, attitudes, and behavior or practices or response of people in respect of population situation in ways and means of its regulation or control for better quality of life. Distinguished attributes of population education. According to Lakshmi Reddy, 1994, presents the following and distinguished attributes features of population education. First one is it is an educational program designed to make learners understand the interrelationship among population situation, change, development, and aspects of quality of human life. Second one is its ultimate goal is to make learners contribute to the improvement of the quality of human life now and in some future time. And third one is it is population problem centered, hence lends itself to discovery and inquiry learning process. If the population related problems are non-existent, then the question of population education does not arise at all. And fourth one is it is value-laden subject, hence more open to the use of values clarification approach to learning, that is, to pose realistic alternatives to examine consequences of each alternative and to enable learners to make sound decisions for action on population issues. Population education thus is more sensitive and warrants skillful handling of it in multilingual, multireligious, and multiracial societies or nations. And fifth one is it is multidisciplinary and derives its content from demography, population studies, biology, statistics, sociology, psychology, economics, and other disciplines. Need and significance of population education. Having yeah, we are discussing about in previously the concept of population education. Now we will attempt to highlight the need and significance of population education. According to need of population education in China is the world's most populous country with about 1.34 billion people in 2010. Its closest rival, India, has 1.21 billion people but is expected to have more people than China by the year 2030 as a result of having a less successful family planning policy than China. Both China and India together account for a third of the world's population. जबकि प्रेजेंट सिनारियो में यदि हम बात करें तो इंडिया का जो पॉपुलेशन है वो चाइना से अधिक हो चुका है। तो इस तरीके से आप देखते हैं इन इंडिया अबाउट वन 140 करोड़ से ऊपर जनसंख्या है यहाँ पे। इंडिया इज एस्टीम्ड टू इंक्रीज इट्स पॉपुलेशन बाय अबाउट 18 millions every year, which is the size of the Australia. आप इससे अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं कि एक साल जो इंडिया का पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीज होता है वह ऑस्ट्रेलिया में जितना पॉपुलेशन है उसके साइज के बराबर एवरी ईयर इंडिया में पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीज होता है। While India even in is adding one Australia to it every year, the world population is likely to add one India or China to its population every decade. There is thus presenting pressing need to spread population education in the countries like India and China and all developing countries in particular and the world in general, which suffer from the problems of ever increasing population. The human beings, by contributing to rapid growth of their population, are endangering their individual, familial, social, and national well-being. It is thus a man-made problem, and effective solution should therefore also evolve from his rational thinking and action, rational mind and behavior. That is possible mainly through educating people about their role in respect of population problems and issues. Population education. Significance of the population education. The significance of population education is explained as many developing countries have started family planning programs in 1950s and 1960s to curb their population growth rates. But these programs were aimed at only the population in the reproductive age group 15 to 44 years. Population below 14 years of age, which range between 35 to 60% of population in many countries, are left out from the purview of family planning education. This group that constitutes the adult population in the coming years is a potent source of fertility. Therefore, it is the cultivation of desirable attitudes among the group of youngsters towards population matters that can provide potential and viable solution to the continuing problem. Further, the need to catch them young is thus obvious and hence population education becomes more relevant as an important instrument to develop in them rational attitudes and responsible behavior towards population problems. Like education, population education is a lifelong process. It cannot be considered as co-terminus with formal schooling. To face different population problems arising from time to time, population education becomes essential at all other levels and forms of education such as non-formal education. Hence, population education has its significance at all levels of education through all forms of education. Increasing population will continue to affect the quality of life of people, leading in general to deficiency of food and inadequate facilities for education and health, among others. Further, the other social problems such as crime, violence, antisocial activities, juvenile delinquency, terrorism, etc., and environmental problems such as pollution, global warming, ecological imbalance would also increase. Population education only can provide lasting solution to all such problems. Population education, being an educational program, is capable of influencing the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and practices of people in respect of pollution. Population matters. It has been shown by many investigations that knowledge influences attitudes, and attitudes in turn influence practices. Population education, therefore, becomes a precondition for desirable practice in respect of population matters. Every country in the world strives to increase the quality of life of its people. Overpopulation in any country would certainly have diverse impact on the quality of life of people. Hence, either to increase the quality of life or to maintain the existing quality of life, the population must not be allowed to grow beyond its resources, and therefore its control assumes significance. As one of the strategies, every nation is involved in educating its people in matters pertaining to population with the purpose of enabling them to take rational decisions and implement them to reduce the growth rates with a view to promote quality of life. Now, objectives of population education. The first United Nations Population Conference, held in 1954 in Rome, had drawn global attention towards population problems. Subsequently, different countries began their efforts in the form of population policies and programs, which latter have been revised time and again in tune with the national and international developments. Of course, India is the first country to have official population policy during the first 5-year plan itself, when National Family Planning Program was launched by focusing on clinical approach. But the beginning of population education in India can be traced to the third 5-year plan, 1961 to 66, when National Family Planning Program was given extension orientation with cafeteria approach to family planning. Thus, population education has emerged as an indirect means to strengthen direct intervention strategy and approaches aimed at attaining the national demographic goals. UNESCO's General Conference declared in 1968 that the purpose of UNESCO's activities in the field of population should be to promote a better understanding of the serious responsibilities which population growth imposes on individuals, nations, and the whole of international community. In 1970, it authorized the Director General to assist member states on request in the elaboration of population and family planning policies, and in 1972, it recommended that the Director General promote by means of education and information a clear insight among the public into the nature, causes and consequences of demographic trends. The General Conference of UNESCO, at its 17th session, adopted resolution authorizing the Director General to pursue and undertake activities designed inter alia for the promotion of population education. Thus, time and again, the focus of population activities and education has been changing around certain core contents. Nevertheless, in view of different socio-cultural backgrounds and population policies of different countries, the specific objectives of population education may be different in India, may be different. In India, the following objectives have been decided at a workshop organized by NCERT 1971, which stand as the general objectives of the country even today. First one is to develop an understanding of some demographic concepts and processes. Second one is to develop among the younger generation an understanding of the most important phenomenon of the modern world, that's the rapid growth of population and its causes. And the one is to develop an understanding of the influence of population trends on the various aspects of human life, social, cultural, political, and economic. And fourth one is to develop an understanding of the close interactions of population growth and the developmental process with particular reference to development programs for raising the standard of living of people. And fifth one is to develop an understanding of the evil effects of overpopulation on the environment and the concomitant dangers from population. Sixth one is to develop an understanding of the scientific and medical advancement enabling to get an increased control over famines, disease, and ultimately death and the imbalance thus created between death rate and birth rate. And seventh one is to develop an understanding of biological factors and phenomenon of reproduction which are responsible for continuance of the species. And eighth one is to develop an appreciation of the small family norms as proper and desirable. The relationship between population size and the quality of life, and the fact that family size is a matter of deliberate choice and human regulation rather than of accident or forces beyond human control. Ninth one is to develop an attitude of responsibility and mutual help and cooperation in all aspects of personal and family living. And tenth one is to develop an appreciation of the relationship between the preservation of the health of the mother, the welfare of the children, and the small size of the family. 11th one is to develop an appreciation of the fact that the actions of each individual's members of the society affects others and personal and national decisions concerning family size and population have long-range consequences for the whole world. 12th one is to develop an awareness of population policies and programs of the country. And 13th one is to provide students with a basic demographic vocabulary so that they are able to read and interpret demographic material with some understanding. The main objective of the population education should be enable the students to understand the family size is controllable, that population limitation can facilitate the development of a higher quality of life in the nation, and that a small family size can contribute materially to the quality of living for the individual family. It should also enable the students to appreciate the fact that for preserving the health and welfare of the members of the family, for ensuring the economic stability of the family, and for assuring good prospects for the younger generation, the Indian families of today and tomorrow should be small and compact. Depending upon the scientific specific objectives, the content, the scope, etc. of population education may vary from community to community, from society to society, and from country to country. In some countries, population education was instituted in response to the recommendation of the World Plan of Action, which stated that governments should consider making provision in both the formal and non-formal educational programs for informing their people on consequences of existing or alternate fertility behavior for the well-being of the family, for the educational and psychological development of children, and for the general welfare of the society, so that an informed and responsible attitude to marriage and reproduction will be promoted. Though the above mentioned objectives are specific to India, They are more or less like to the broad general objectives that are appropriate for any country. Yet the specific objectives of population education differ slightly or significantly from country to country. Also, they are different from different grade levels and target groups within a particular country. It will, therefore, not be appropriate here to list the specific objectives or go into the details related to different grade levels. However, in the words of Sarma, 1991, although countries differ in respect of specific objectives of their population education programs, the general objectives are more or less the same. According to him, the following general objectives could very well represent the nature of population education. First one is to develop awareness and understanding about population situation, nation and world, basic demographic concepts and theories, processes and determinants of population changes, concept of quality of life in different socio-cultural settings, interrelationship between population change and different aspects of quality of life at micro and macro levels, consumption explosion and its implication on quality of life for others, human reproduction, eugenics and family welfare, and population policies, plans and programs. And second one is to develop the ability to assess the quality of life implication in relation to population change and consumptions of resources now and in the future for oneself, one's community, nation, and the world. To develop rational attitudes, values, skills for taking responsible decisions and actions regarding population related issues and improvement of quality of life. Now, goals of population education. The ultimate goal of population education is to enable the individuals to extend their understanding, attitudes, perspectives, and practices related to population matters, issues, and problems in a way that is personally meaningful and familially, socially, nationally, and globally relevant. Population policies and programs in different countries are the result of policymakers' perceptions of and reflections on the population situation, its trends, problems, repercussions, and relevance to national development at present and in future. A population policy consists of both the formulation of and articulation by the government of some population objectives or a set of objectives that maximize the public welfare and levels of living. Population policies are measures and programs designed to contribute to the achievement of economic, social, demographic, political, and other collective goals through affecting critical demographic variables, namely the size and growth of population, its geographic distributions, national and international, and its demographic characteristics. It involves the commitment and manipulation of resources in pursuit of the population policy and programs. To sum up, the major goals of population education as part of the population policies programs include the following. First one is to develop in the individuals appropriate knowledge, understanding, skills, and abilities to identify, analyze, define, and address the problems and issues of population and development in a way that is personally meaningful, familially advantageous, socially relevant, nationally progressive, developmentally sustainable, and globally welfare oriented. To contribute to the realization of the goals and objectives of national population policies and programs by affecting critical demographic variables It has significant relevance to the achievement of economic, social, demographic, political, and other collective goals of the education. All the eight goals set by the Millennium Summit 2000 are intricately linked to population and development matters only. The goals of population and development education have thus become the integral part of the MDGs given below. Goal 1. Eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. Goal 2. Achieve universal primary education. Goal 3. Promote gender equality and empower women. Goal 4. Reduce child mortality rates. Goal 5. Improve maternal health. Goal 6. Combat HIV or AIDS, malaria and other disease. Goal 7. Ensure environmental sustainability. Goal 8. Develop a global partnership for development. In 2010, the UN systems reviewed progress and identified gaps and explored ways to accelerate progress in series of events leading up to the MDG of 10-year review. Now, scope of population education. From the foregoing discussion, it is possible to draw out the content of the population education that provide us an idea of the scope of population education. To begin with, it was essentially demographic laden. In course of time, the content has been elaborated and specified to include various other concepts, thus enlarging the scope of population education. The 1974 World Plan of Action adopted at Bucharest states that educational institutions in all countries should be encouraged to expand their curricula to include a study of population dynamics and policies, including where appropriate family life, responsible parenthood, and the relationship of population dynamics to socio-economic development and to international relations. According to Mehta, 1982, demography, that is, the population situation, determinants of population growth and consequences of population growth form the core components of population education, which are more or less universally accepted. To make population education more comprehensive, sex education with two elements, human reproduction and family planning, is also added in so as to gear it to the needs of the country. In fact, sex education as a component of population education will help a lot in removing the blind beliefs of the people regarding the birth of the child. For instance, many people in India and many other developing countries consider childbirth as a gift of the gods, which in fact is not correct. Once they understood the process of conceptions and childbirth are convinced of it, there is every likelihood of them rejecting their blind belief on childbirth. Besides, there are many blind beliefs regarding sex, including its determination, which can also be effectively eliminated through sex education. Although virtually all population education programs espouse an open-ended, non-prescriptive approach in their goals and objectives, the content as well as approach is often implicitly and sometimes explicitly directed more towards the specific goals of promoting a small family now. The funding agencies also want to see the effect of population education programs on reproductive behavior of the target audience. This is more true for out of school youth and adults. What is even more important in the case of population education is the full understanding and appreciation on the part of all concerned of its nature, objectives, content, and methodology, and the acquisition of professional skills and competency in its transmission to different kinds to clientele, students, teachers, and other educational functionaries. Further, the content and scope of population education also differ based on the policy and program objectives and also the target groups. The family life education programs in Afghanistan is intended to design and organize functional literacy programs for the rural and urban women related to family health, better family living, and family guidance. While in Malaysia, it intends to strengthen family development program by broadening the scope of its family planning component to family life education. Besides family life planning, the need for the improvement of quality of life of the individual, family, and community are given emphasis to contribute to the achievement of general objectives of the family development program. Although opinions differ with regard to the nature and content of a population education program for youth and adults, the information on sex and family life is considered to be of immediate relevance to both youth and adults. This further widens the scope of population education so as to include family planning, sex education, and population policies in it. So broadly and in general, it can be said to include first one is demography, includes the determinants and causes of population change. And second one is consequences of population growth on various aspects of human life, biological, social, economic, and cultural. And second one is environment and ecological balance. And third one is on development and welfare program of the country. Third one is family life education and population policies and program. Nevertheless, the quality of life has increasingly been focal aspects of the population education. Consequent upon the stipulation made in the National Policy on Education 1986, it has become value laden as well as quality of life improvement oriented. In view of this, NCRT 1988 has built the conceptual framework around six major themes. These are first one is family size and family welfare, second one is delayed marriage, third one is responsible parenthood, fourth one is population change and resource development, fifth one is population related beliefs and values, and sixth one is the status of women. The content focusing on these themes is drawn from six content areas. First one is population and economic development. Second one is population and social development. Third one is population, environment and resources. Fourth one is population and family life. Fifth one is population health and nutrition. And sixth one is population dynamics. Thus, we can conclude that the scope of population education is very broad and extensive. Population education is not only limited to education, but this education is detailed in every aspect of the life of all the people of the country. The topics covered in its scope are foundation of knowledge and understanding of the population situation of the student in his own country and the world as a whole. Development of the student's ability to make decisions related to the size and population of his family based on the population policy adopted by the student's own group and the country. Helping the student acquire the necessary knowledge, skills, attitudes, values, and evaluation skills related to population. Students need to be informed about the relationship between birth rate and death rate and population growth in context of their own country. As groups of students move from school to college or university, they will acquire an understanding of the demographic of different states, countries, and the world. Proper understanding of human reproductive techniques should be developed. This concept will be formed at different levels based on the interest and results of the students. To help students develop a clear understanding of health and nutrition issues related to childbearing, Students will be introduced to various well-established and tested facts of medical science. For example, a mother's health relationship with having children at an early age. Benefits of maternal nutrition in the nutrition of the child and its relation to the mother's good health, etc. To develop awareness about the relationship between family structure and size and quality of life development. Understanding the significance of population characteristics and related policies for the socio-economic development of the country. Students' family with their country's population policies and family planning programs. Now, we can conclude the concept of meaning and objectives of population education. That is, population education refers to educational programs and initiatives designed to help individuals understand the dynamics of population growth, its impact on resources and the environment, and the interrelationship between population and various socio-economic factors. It aims to equip people with knowledge and skills to make informed decisions regarding family size, reproductive health, and sustainable living. Key components of population education are demographics, reproductive health, environmental impact, economic factors, and social issues. Demographics, it includes study of population statistics, including birth rates, death rates, and migration patterns. Reproductive health includes education on family planning, contraceptions, and maternal health. Environmental impact includes understanding how population growth affects natural resources and ecosystems. Economic factors includes examining the relationship between population dynamics and economic development. And social issues includes exploring the social implication of population changes such as urbanization, aging population, and gender equality. Objectives of population education are: first one is awareness and understanding. It can be further divided into two categories: demographic knowledge and environmental awareness. First one is demographic knowledge to provide accurate information about population trends and projections, and environmental awareness to highlight the impact of population growth on natural resources and ecosystems. Attitudinal changes. Second one is attitudinal changes. Attitudinal changes can be divided into two categories. First one is responsible parenthood, and the second one is gender equality. Responsible parenthood to promote the concept of responsible parenthood and informed decision making regarding family size. And second one is gender equality to advocate for gender equality in reproductive health decisions and opportunities. And third one is skill developments. Skill developments also divided into two categories: critical thinking and decision making. Critical thinking includes to develop critical thinking skills related to population issues and their broader impacts. Whereas decision making includes to enhance decision making skills in personal and community context regarding family planning and resource use. And fourth one is behavioral change. Behavioral change further divided into two categories: family planning and sustainable living. Family planning includes to encourage the adoption of family planning methods to achieve desired family size, whereas sustainable living includes to promote behaviors that contribute to sustainable living and resource conservation. Which one is policy and advocacy? Policy and advocacy can be divided into two categories: support for policies and community engagement. First one is support for policies includes to build support for policies that addresses population issues such as reproductive health services and environmental protections. Community engagement to encourage community participation in discussion and action related to population and development. Importance of population education are economic development, environmental sustainability, social equality, quality of life. Economic development can be divided into two categories: workforce planning and poverty reduction. Workforce planning helps in planning for workforce needs and ensuring that the population growth aligns with economic resources and opportunities. Poverty reductions, that means educates about the link between family size and economic well-being, contributing to poverty reduction efforts. Environmental sustainability can be divided into two categories: resource management and climate change. Resource management promotes understanding of how population growth affects resource use and the importance of sustainable resource management. Climate change raises awareness about the role of population dynamics in climate change and environmental degradation. Social equality can be divided into two categories: health improvements and education and empowerment. Health improvement improves reproductive health outcomes by providing information on family planning and maternal health. Education and empowerment empowers individuals, especially women, through education about their reproductive rights and health. Quality of life can be divided into two categories: improved living standards and community well-being. Improved living standards by managing population growth. Population education contributes to improved living standards and quality of life. Community well-being encourages community actions that lead to healthier, more sustainable living environments. Thus, we can conclude that population education is essential for fostering an informed and responsible citizen capable of making decisions that positively impact their lives and the broader community. By addressing the complex interplay between population dynamics and socioeconomic and environmental factors, population education helps create a sustainable future for all. It supports economic development, environmental sustainability, social equality, and overall quality of life, making it a critical component of comprehensive education program. Thank you, students.